Hey everyone, let's dive right into this explainer and take a hard look at a deeply ingrained ideal. We are going to be exploring the ultimate traditional Canadian dream. You know, the idea that rushing to a zero-balance mortgage is the absolute financial finish line. I mean, for generations, we've basically been taught to grind away and pay off the house as fast as humanly possible, right? But what if that conventional wisdom is actually fundamentally flawed? Today, we're unpacking a really powerful wealth-building strategy utilized by Maziar Mohini and the team at Home Leader Realty. We're going to see exactly why racing to eliminate your inexpensive debt might actually be a massive financial mistake.
So, I want you to seriously ask yourself, are your aggressive, lump-sum mortgage payments actually trapping your liquid wealth rather than accelerating your financial independence? Stick with me, because by the end of this explainer, you are going to view your mortgage debt in a completely different light.
All right, here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll be looking at the debt-free trap, the macro shift of fiat currencies, how to reframe inflation as your partner, the milking cow strategy, and finally, we'll compare two very different investors.
Let's just jump right into Section 1, the debt-free trap and the very real danger of debt equity.
Hey, imagine for a second that your house is stuffed to the brim with literal stacks of cash, but it's locked behind heavy chains inside the walls. That is essentially what happens when you aggressively pay down your mortgage. You're taking highly liquid cash and burying it into drywall, where it earns absolutely zero extra yield. We'd literally call this prison money. And here is the undeniable objective truth. Your property's appreciation is driven by location, supply, demand, and market conditions. Your house literally does not care if you owe $1 million on it or zero. It's going to appreciate at the exact same rate regardless.
When you look at it this way, the problem becomes super obvious. Aggressively paying down your mortgage creates dead equity. Sure, you're asset rich, but you are totally cash poor. If you ever want that money back out, well, you're going to face massive extraction friction. You need the bank's permission, you have to requalify, get new appraisals, pay legal fees, it's a whole ordeal. On the flip side, maintaining active liquid capital gives you true deployment utility. You have funds instantly ready for emergencies, ready for high-yield renovations, or perfectly positioned to acquire new income-producing assets.
Moving on to Section 2. Fiat fails, assets prevail. The macro shift.
Since the creation of the Federal Reserve way back in 1913, we've witnessed an undeniable downward trend. The dollar continually, relentlessly loses its purchasing power. Honestly, cash is an asset mathematically guaranteed to lose value over time. But while fiat currency depreciates, hard assets historically do the exact opposite. Holding an appreciating real estate asset using a depreciating currency is literally the perfect environment for strategic, long-term leverage.
You might be hearing chatter out there about a projected 2026 market valuation reset, and maybe you're feeling a bit of panic. But don't worry, look at the data here. The nominal price, the dollar amount on paper, is one thing, but the inflation-adjusted real purchasing power is what matters. This 2026 reset isn't some catastrophic crash. It's simply a temporary correction where real value is just returning to the exact purchasing power levels we saw back in 2018.
Now, building on that, notice how high nominal prices totally mask the rapid erosion of currency value. If you're only focusing on the dollar amount, you're falling for a dangerous illusion. That massive price spike we all saw in 2022, that was largely a vanity metric. It didn't mean the intrinsic value of real estate suddenly doubled overnight. It meant the purchasing power of the dollar plummeted. So it just took way more of those weaker dollars to buy the exact same asset. So here's the really hard lesson for anyone chasing that zero-balance mortgage. If you were aggressively paying down your principal between 2018 and 2022, you essentially handed the bank your absolute most valuable, high purchasing power capital right before the asset's real-world value reset. Think about that. You traded away highly liquid, valuable cash just to kill low-interest debt, locking your money away right when inflation was hitting its peak.
So here's a real number on this to anchor it. Because of currency erosion, it takes roughly $980,000 nominal dollars today, right now, just to equal the exact same purchasing power of what a $787,300 home cost back in 2018. Fully understanding this massive difference between nominal wealth on paper and real-world purchasing power is exactly what separates average homeowners from truly strategic investors.
Which brings us to Section 3, your silent business partner, reframing inflation.
Seriously, instead of being terrified of debt, we need to recognize how the mechanics of inflation actually work in your favor. Your mortgage balance, that is a fixed number. But as we've just seen, the value of the currency itself is constantly dropping.
That means inflation is basically acting as your silent business partner, quietly paying off your mortgage using cheaper future dollars. The actual real-world weight of your debt is getting lighter and lighter every single year, and you aren't lifting a finger.
Let's just look at the math over a 10-year period to see how crazy this is. Assuming a standard 3% annual inflation rate, a $300,000 debt loses about $9,000 of its real burden in just year one. Compound that over a decade, and you're eroding up to $90,000 of real purchasing power from that debt. Now scale it up. Hold $3 million in debt. Inflation melts away $900,000 of that burden. Hold $30 million across a huge portfolio. Inflation vaporizes $9 million of real debt weight. Without you making a single extra principal payment, inflation is passively eroding massive chunks of your debt, scaling exponentially the more leverage you have.
All right, Section 4. Let's talk strategy with the milking cow method for extracting wealth.
Think of your property as a prized dairy cow. You wouldn't slaughter it for a one-time payout, right? Step 1, you hold on to the asset. Step 2, you make sure it can feed itself, meaning the property is cash flow positive with tenants covering your carrying costs. Step 3, you collect the milk. In real estate, the milk is the equity you extract through strategic refinancing. You pull that tax-free cash out to reinvest, but guess what? You still own the cow. And step 4, patience. You just sit back and let time, tenants, and macro inflation work their magic. This core philosophy from Mazir Moini really captures the undeniable reality of real estate wealth. Real wealth isn't built by frantically eliminating leverage as fast as you can. It's built by using prudent leverage intelligently and literally just allowing time, inflation, and compounding to do all the heavy lifting for you. Patience and strategic leverage are how you actually win the long game. Let's bring this all together in Section 5. 2 investors, 2 futures, the ultimate comparison. I want you to picture 2 guys starting out with the exact same resources. Investor A is our traditionalist. He grinds, he makes those lump sum payments, and he aggressively pays off a $300,000 mortgage to own one single house absolutely free and clear. He feels awesome, but he has virtually zero liquidity. Then you have Investor B, the strategist. He maintains a 25-year amortization, preserves his highly liquid cash, and uses that capital to go out and acquire 2 or 3 additional cash-flowing properties. Fast forward 20 years, and the verdict is incredibly clear. Investor B wins by an absolute landslide. Why? Because liquidity provides this unmatched ability to compound wealth. Investor B had the cash on hand to buy the dip when the market turned, fund smart renovations to boost rental income, and build a multi-dimensional wealth engine. Meanwhile, he just let his silent partner, inflation, melt away a massive portfolio of debt across multiple properties. The difference here isn't the real estate itself, it's the efficient deployment of capital.
Fast forward, a super important caveat to all of this. Strategy requires prudence. Keeping mortgage debt working for you is absolutely not a license to go be reckless. Appropriate leverage depends entirely on your risk tolerance, your cash flow, your age, and your long-term goals. Sound financial planning, keeping adequate emergency reserves, and practicing prudent debt management remain absolutely essential if you want to make this work safely.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Take a really hard look at your own financial trajectory. Are you racing just to be debt-free, or are you strategically building the leverage required to be truly financially free? Because as the data clearly shows, those 2 things are definitely not the same. I hope this explainer has fundamentally changed how you'll look at your very next mortgage statement. Thanks so much for joining me, and stay curious.